back on.
Cool.
Let's check it out. But yeah, I'm so psyched that Riki is here. And why don't we bring Riki on sooner than later, right?
Yeah, let's bring him on. The show that really was so important to me as a young adult was MTV's Headbangers Ball. It was so influential, and they started it before Riki, but it wasn't until Riki came on that I really feel like it found its voice. And here he is, Riki Rachtman. How are you, Riki?
I was just banned from MySpace, so I completely feel your guys.
Riki, how are you feeling? I know you were sick for a while. Can you talk to us about how you're feeling, how you're doing, how the recovery's going?
Well, I got the C word. I was the guy that said, if I get COVID, it'll be like the flu. It'll be gone in a day or so. And I was like, rode my motorcycle all over the country, but that's not how I got it. And I got COVID-19, and it kicked my ass, and it was the gnarliest thing ever. And weird things happened. I never lost my taste, never lost my smell. Chills were unbearable. But the thing that I think that everybody's going to start to learn is there's some real neurological effects with the brain that happened with COVID. And I was screwed up to begin with. But it was, I mean, I'm not going to lie. It was really bad. It wasn't the flu. And I was gone for like 2 weeks, and I was delirious, and I was saying random things. And now, like, certain things that I used to eat, I don't like anymore, which is really weird,
Man.
I mean, because I like Cheetos and cake, and I don't anymore. But it was really, really weird. And it's mentally, COVID is really weird. But, I'm going to do a podcast about it, because I know when you talk about it, all of a sudden, when everybody found out that I had COVID and I talked about what it was, I lost 600 followers and was called a libtard because I got sick.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, we know that this hits everyone, so we're glad you're doing better, and you look great.
Yeah.
And you lose a lot of weight on COVID. Thank you, COVID.
Right on. And let's get right into this, because I was watching your Instagram the other day, and you made kind of a big announcement. At least for me, it's big as a fan of the Headbangers Ball and what you did on that show. I got really excited when you mentioned that you're planning to do a new show, which is going to feature hard rock and loud rock music. Can you talk about what you're planning and where you are in the stages of planning this?
Yes. Here's the deal. People that really know me know that I'm like a full-blown workaholic. I have a lot of jobs that I do, and sometimes I say things that I want to do, and they don't ever happen. Very rarely. And everybody's been saying, dude, do the Headbangers Ball. And what people don't understand is that I want to do it. I mean, I told MTV I would do it for free for years, but nothing ever happened. There's a couple, I have an ego. So I think, hey, I'm Riki Rachtman. I'm good at talk radio. Why can't I? And like, people weren't returning. Sirius XM was no interested in me. VH1 had no interest in me. And so I decided this year, and I'm not putting anything down with either of those, because I happen to like Eddie. I happen to like Jose a lot. But I was just like, you know what? Fuck. Can I swear?
Sure. Yes.
Because look at my shirt. Michael.
Fucking McDonald. I like it. That's great.
Best era of the Doobie Brothers, by the way.
Michael McDonald fucks chicks. Okay, so anyway, I want to do the show so bad. So I said, look, in 2021, I am going to do a metal video show. And if it doesn't go on in 2021, I will never appear in radio, TV. I will completely retire, and I'll get a regular job doing something. I don't know what I do. I mean, basically, I'm going to do it. So somebody came to me, and they said, okay, we're going to do it. We're going to put it up one day. It's going to be free. You don't have to join Patreon. You don't have to join anything. And we're going to do it legit. With my podcast, with the clubs, with my merchandise company, with everything, I do almost everything all by myself. So this is something that I needed help. And I decided my goal is to do music videos. I don't want to do it in front of a green screen with skulls and flames or something. I want to do something a little bit different. And the thing is, I want to do it legit. So while everybody's saying, play this video, play that video, play this video, I have somebody helping me that I will announce in like a couple days. and we're trying to do it legit and get licensing on all these videos. And the problem is when ball was out and we were playing all these great videos, you know, MTV was making money, the labels weren't. Now the labels don't have money. And for us to play like an older, great metal video, these labels want money. And I'm like, dude, this is like promotion. A couple of heavy hitters, we can have their videos. So the goal is I'm going to do a video show. I personally believe it'll be on sooner than later. I think it'll be on, if not February, March. One night, I'm going to be playing new videos. I'm going to be playing old videos. I'm going to be playing popular videos. As soon as I said this, I mean, I just said I'm going to do the show, and I already got bad reviews for the show. But people were like, well, you're going to be playing Lamb of God, aren't you? And I'm like, well, yeah. And they're like, well, then somebody else says, well, I hope you're playing Seether and 3 Days Grace. And I was like, well, you're going to play Warrant. Oh, well, you're going to play Cannibal Corpse. Well, and everybody's got these different opinions on what it is. And, you know, right now, which is so stupid, that people are so divided by genres. You know, if I say, you know, I listen to a lot of heavier stuff. And if I'm listening to Code Orange and then I listen to, you know, Skid Row, Slave to the Grind, it's like the only reason I listen to those songs is because I really like them. It's not going to be a show based on just videos that I like. I'm going to put on videos that I think can please everybody. I'm hoping somebody that really likes Gojira might also see a video from, you know, Faster Pussycat that they really like. I mean, the thing is, like, there's like the people that are like the 50s and 60 plus year old that it's like, dude, Dokken is selling more tickets than Code Orange. What are you talking about? Which is completely not true. Nothing against Dokken, you know. The older metal fans, for some reason, are so negative. And then Code Orange is an example. They're like, hey, will you host the Mudbangers Ball for us? I'm like, yeah. And then all of a sudden, you know, I hear from somebody from Every Time I Die, will you host this show? I'm like, hell yes, I will. I'm doing something with Ted from Death Angel, like I think in a couple days. And I like music in all genres. The only thing, the only that is I have is I don't want any ballads. And I prefer not to have something that's currently on the radio, except there is one video that's a huge video that we are going to be playing. And there's reasons we're playing it. And, you know, it's not Ricky's show. If it was Ricky's show, I think people would be like kind of bummed out because it would be really all over the place because I listen to everything. But it's something that everybody needs. And what I really am hoping to happen is, and I know that's hard to do today, is I really want everybody to think like, okay, Ricky's going to do the show, The Ball, next Saturday at 10 o'clock. Let's all sit around our laptops or our phones, or better yet, put it on our TV, and let's all watch it live. I'm not going to be on it very much. I just really want to get to these videos. I'm going to talk openly on it. I'm not going to play anything that I think sucks, but I might play bands that aren't my favorite because I think that they have a place in it. This is the first time I've ever done a music video show where I actually got to pick the videos. And some of the videos that I'm playing are not what I would play on the Ricky show, but they're going to like them because as much as somebody's really going to like, you know, Municipal Waste, somebody's really going to like LA Guns. And the other thing is a lot of the like hardcore bands and the heavy music of today really like selfishly I call it the Cathouse era, really like those Cathouse bands. But the older fans have a hard time grasping onto newer music, which is a shame. I listen to bands. I happen to really like thrash music, and I'll listen to some of these newer thrash bands, and I'm like, is this old Exodus or is this Municipal Waste? You know, and then I'm driving, and I still like, you know, all my Cathouse bands too. So I really want to do it now. If things don't work with getting it on this place that I'm supposed to have it, what I will do is I will play every freaking video that I want. It'll get taken off immediately, and I'll just go full outlaw. At the last minute, I'll tell where it is, and I'll play every single video without getting licensing or anything. I'll just do it because I promise.
So, Ricky, will this be on like an app of some sort? Is that the plan that you could watch like on Apple TV or something like that, like you said, on your screen?
It will be on an existing app, and I don't know, but I'm hoping it's going to be very accessible. The only thing I've asked is, and I'm doing all this for free, of course. The only thing I'm asking is that nobody has to pay and that you don't have to become a member of anything. And we're trying to work out the particulars at first. You know, there's a lot of things that people sometimes get mad at me for not doing the things that and when I'm in agreement with them. Like, I want to do a metal show. I want to play old stuff. I want to play new stuff. I want to play heavy music. I want to play videos. And the thing is, let me tell you something. Rap bands, and I think today's rap, I like hip hop. I don't like today's rap at all. But they're doing all the videos that we did back then. The partying in the pools, the having fun, the having a great time. Putting these videos out and people are watching them. And I think if all these bands are putting out videos, and there's some new bands that are putting out great videos that we'll never see. And I want to combine a little old, a little new, a little thrash, a little 80s, a little heavy, a little everything. I mean, people, more than telling me what they like, people are just so ready to tell everybody what they don't like. And if you don't like the video, let's hang out for a second, because there'll be a good one that you like next.
Wow, this is exciting news, Riki. We cannot wait for the big announcement as to where this is going to debut. Do you know when we'll be getting that info? You said soon, right? Well,
I talked to the people that are helping me with this, and what their job is to get permission to play the certain videos. You know, the only thing I said, like, my all-time favorite band, like my all-time favorite band is Motorhead. And when I said on Headbangers Ball, and I said, can I pick some videos on my birthday? And the only one they played was Motorhead. So I know I got a permission for a Motorhead video. So that's there. But, you know, there won't, you know, everybody's like, you know, you guys, I don't like to focus on the negative, but occasionally I'll get negative stuff. And the stuff that people say is so preposterous. It's like, oh, I know your show's going to suck because all you ever played on Headbangers Ball was, you know, Poison. I'm like, dude, you know that we probably played more Napalm Death than Poison videos. It's like, we played everything on Headbangers Ball. And even I put down Headbangers Ball. When I go back and look at it, I'm like, oh my God, look at this Michael Monroe video, followed by, you know, LA Guns, followed by Cro-Mags. You know, I mean, it was, I talked down about that show, which really didn't deserve it. It was good.
Yeah, the diversity on Headbangers Ball, especially in the later years, was really wide. And I know some people have criticized it because they were like, oh, well, when Headbangers Ball started playing the same music videos that 120 Minutes was playing, that's where they lost their way. I'm sure you've heard that. But you're saying that diversity is something you like.
What do you do when you get Ministry NWO? You know, what do you do with Just One Fix by Ministry? That's going to play in both. My gripe was, as soon as a song is played in the daytime on MTV, you don't play it. So you don't play Alice in Chains Rooster if it's being played 8 times a day. And if Motley Crue Home Sweet Home is on 24 hours a day on MTV, you don't play it on Headbangers Ball. Maybe you play Shout at the Devil. You know, my goal was, I always thought Headbangers Ball should be a little outlaw and should be the stuff that you don't see during the day. And that's what I'm hoping to do now. I like to use the word outlaw. I like it to be the stuff that you're not getting everywhere else. And there's nothing better. My compliment is a kid coming up to me saying, oh my God, I really loved Megadeth, and I was not really that into them. And then somebody saying, you know, I was really into whatever and like new stuff. I mean, I love music so much. And I wish, and nobody else is doing the show, and it will truly be metal, and it'll be a lot of different genres.
Cool. Well, we cannot wait for that, Riki. And I want to let John ask a question, but one real quick question for you before I throw it over to John. It's always been rumored that Axl Rose was the one who helped you get that MTV Headbangers Ball gig. Is that true?
100%.
How did that play out?
Well, he called up MTV. First I said, I'd like to host Headbangers Ball. And he's like, I'll see what I can do. So he called MTV and he said, hey, my friend Riki, and a lot of people knew me because I was the young kid that opened up the Cathouse, which, by the way, is still the greatest rock and roll club ever. So Axl called MTV and he says, hey, Riki Rachtman would like to do it. And I think Doug Goldstein's manager helped. And when Axl is the biggest rock star in the world and he says, you should suggest this guy, they go, okay. And then Axl's like, okay, they said they auditioned. Do you want me to go with you? And I'm like, okay. And I'd never been on business class before. And he slummed it by business. And I flew business. He got the hotel at the Mayflower. We stayed there for a couple days.
Yeah.
I went to, and I was so horrible. I watched the old shows and I was so bad because I did not come from a TV background. I did not come from a radio background. I did not come from a broadcasting background. My background is the dude that opened the sleaziest rock and roll club ever. So I think I got it. But Axl, I have no problem saying that my success or whatever success I had can be attributed to Guns N' Roses. And of course, all the other bands like Faster Pussycat and stuff like that. But I mean, in Mooresville, I have 2 offices that just do nothing but sell Cathouse shirts. And I know that's because Axl wore it in the Paradise City video. So now we see Tom Morello and John 5 and all these newer people wearing the Cathouse shirts because they sell. And I know a lot of that has to do with Guns N' Roses. So I have no problem in saying that I owe a lot to Guns N' Roses. And, you know, it's good that it's nice that they helped me, you know?
You ever hear from any of the Guns guys? Have you been in touch with them?
When I was sick, Duff texted to see how I was. I occasionally talk to Slash because I bought one of the Gibson Les Paul Slash guitars. And nice. I don't know how to play guitar. I just really want one. So it was so fun. I bought a guitar. I had like Mark Morton from Lamb of God, you know, all these music, Ryan Roxy, all these people, Gilby, all these people telling me like, okay, you got to learn this. You got to learn this. I hear from Slash occasionally. I hear from Duff occasionally. I love Axl. Me and him were very, very tight. Haven't heard from him in decades. My goal is to go to New Zealand in November and see Guns N' Roses and hopefully touch base with Axl because I just haven't talked to him in decades.
Cool.
Nice. So, Riki, before we switch gears onto a new topic, I do want to mention that you hit on something that my friends and I basically we're doing what you're talking about having happen with your new show. We looked forward to the Headbangers Ball when you were on. So we made sure that we were all home on midnight on Saturday night or whatever day that was on. And I love the fact that you want to turn this into an event where people now will say, look, I got to get to my computer because I want to watch Riki's new show. And I think that's like that destination is really important. And I love that that's what you're doing.
I mean, I would love that somebody would say, hey, Riki, we want to do this. We're going to give you a producer and a director. I mean, my podcast, everything I do, the reason stuff doesn't come out is it's me. It's just me, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. But I like that idea, too. I mean, I think it would just be fun, and I want people to get in the habit. And, you know, the reason I want to do it soon is a lot of times Saturday night, I'll be honest, I didn't really watch Headbangers Ball because I was going out on Saturday nights.
Right.
But what are we going to do? And nothing would make me happier if like a bunch of old friends got together and had some beers and watched the ball. And the show's going to be called The Ball. And I don't know where it's going to go after this one episode. You know, my goal, if somebody said, would you do a heavy metal show once a week? I would love to. I would love to do it. I mean, this right now, what we're doing on Talking Metal, this is fun for me. This is the stuff that I really enjoy doing. I do have lots of other jobs that feel like work sometimes, but talking about rock and roll is like, that's what I really like to do, you know?
Well, Riki, I think that you really have credibility, and that's what I want to talk about is that, and I know you've told these stories so many times, but for our listeners, you were there booking bands. You ran the Cathouse, and a lot of the bands that we like the Faster Pussycats, you know, you were instrumental in giving these bands and bands of that type, you know, of music a place to actually get on stage. And then you were not only were you friends with the guys, but you know, you ran like one of the coolest clubs, if not the coolest club in Hollywood.
Yeah, it was the coolest club in Hollywood. Tammy was my roommate from Faster Pussycat. Tammy, I would say to this day, we talk at least once a week still. Nice. The Cathouse was not opened up. If you listen to Cathouse Hollywood podcast, you'll hear all the stories. And the Cathouse was not open as a rock live venue. It was open, and it sounds like such a cliche to be a guy like 50s and saying like, we met it to get free drinks and meet strippers. That was why it was open. And anybody that ever went to the Cathouse in the day, I know this sounds so cliche, but the most beautiful women in the world were at the club doing the most decadent thing, and the rock stars were doing the same thing because nobody had cameras. I didn't allow cameras. And it was me and all my degenerate friends had a clubhouse. And those degenerate friends ended up becoming Guns N' Roses and Faster Pussycat and LA Guns and Jane's Addiction and I was so tight. I mean, I didn't let really crappy bands play the Cathouse. It wasn't about who's going to sell the most tickets because we were sold out. If we had no band play, we'd sell out. So, you know, if I say, okay, hey, Alice in Chains are going to play and they want this band to open up for them called Mookie Blaylock. I don't know who they are, but they're their friends. And Mookie Blaylock ended up being Pearl Jam, you know. And Alice puts Cathouse in a song and then says, hey, we want to play the Cathouse on Halloween. I'm like, okay. And our capacity was like 600. And every band, I mean, you name a band, they played the Cathouse. And, you know, there were things because I was so wasted back then. I didn't remember when Vince Neil and Axl Rose sang together on stage. You know, all those big stories, the feuds, they started at the Cathouse, you know, and I was creating something not to get famous, not to be like, I'm Riki Rachtman. I'm not, like, I tell everybody, I'm not a fucking journalist. I'm not at all. I created a place that we could hang out at. And because I think the premises of it was to have fun, that's why it was so successful. And I mean, you know, I'm still selling Cathouse shirts, you know, and it's the 35th anniversary, and I'd love to do something. And people still talk about the Cathouse. I mean, I have the word Cathouse tattooed on me twice. People send me pictures of tattooing the Cathouse name on it. There is nothing flattering. I'm more proud of the Cathouse than Headbangers Ball.
Well, so Riki, let me ask you now. You've moved to North Carolina from Hollywood, and what is there like a heavy metal scene where you are? Do you still go see bands? You know, and my question is, do you ever think of putting another club like this together? Is there? I mean, I know I'd love to go to it.
Well, I go to see whenever bands play here. You know, I'll go. You know, when the last live show, other than Code Orange, the last live band I saw was Jackal. Because whenever they come to Charlotte, I'll go see them. As far as local, I've seen a couple local bands that I like. As far as opening a Cathouse, the only way I would ever open a Cathouse if it was a bar that was small, that always played killer music, similar to maybe a Duff's in Brooklyn or something like that. And then maybe occasionally we get a band to do something, but I would never open another live venue. I mean, and especially now, let's be honest, you know, I tried to do a Cathouse tour. I really wanted to do a Cathouse tour. And, you know, the first two bands that I started with were, you know, okay, let's start with LA Guns and Faster Pussycat on this tour. And I wanted I wanted there to be dancers. I wanted to be everything. And I'm talking to LA Guns. I'm like, guys, I can't afford it. I'm not going to charge a $90 ticket to get in the Cathouse. And everybody wanted so much money. And I'm like, that ain't the Cathouse way. You know, I mean,
Right.
So everybody wants money instead of like, and it's like, well, we have to go on last because we drew 500. And then the other band goes, well, we drew 400. And I'm like, you're talking about the difference of 100 people. Okay. I care about drew 5,000. 500,000. I don't give a rat's ass if you drew 400 or 500. I like to create an experience that everybody talks about for years. And I think I did that 30th.
Yeah. And I did want to say that you had a great line. I believe it was on the Cathouse Hollywood podcast where the guy from Junkyard was telling this incredible story about Axl dancing and setting off the alarm. And he said, just a typical night at the Cathouse. And you came back and said, there's never a typical night at the Cathouse, which I thought was amazing. And can you talk about the people that showed up there? I mean, David Lee Roth. Did David Bowie show up at the Cathouse once?
One of the best episodes. And remember, like, I'll see people put out, not you guys, or where's the camera? You guys. I'll see people put podcasts that say, hear the story of the Axl Rose, David Bowie feud. I'm like, hear the story. It was in my club in the DJ booth. So we have the DJ telling the story about the Axl Rose, David Bowie story. And that was one of the best episodes of the Cathouse Hollywood podcast. I mean, the Vince Neil Axl Rose feud started like this close to me. You know, the whole thing that happened with his, it was me. So I'm reading these podcasts. You want to hear the crazy story? I'm like, motherfucker, the story started right next to me. So that's why I put out the podcast.
Yeah.
It was not just that. There's an episode with Josh Richmond that he talks about this actor saying, Josh, you know a lot of people in LA. I'm waiting in line to get in the Cathouse. Can you get me in? And it was Brad Pitt. Like, I didn't even know that. But
wow.
I mean, every rock star you could possibly think of, from Robert Plant to Aerosmith to nobody from the Rolling Stones ever went, I think. But I mean, the locals were, I mean, it's everybody. It was everybody. And it was our world. I hired every security guard myself. So, you know, certain friends were allowed to get away with more stuff. It was anything you could imagine. And, you know, I might do stuff that pisses people off, but there's nobody that's ever said they went to the Cathouse in the old days and it wasn't great. So
right
everybody, the truth is there was no velvet ropes. And the reason that I opened the Cathouse is because I showed up at this trendy club in LA and I was stuck behind a velvet rope while all the cool people got in. And I was like, screw this. So if you want to come to Cathouse, get my security guard, Keith. One day somebody showed up and he said, hey, I'll give you $300 to get in front of the line. And Keith goes to the whole line. This guy wants to give me $300 to get in front of the line. Should I let him? And everybody's like, no. So he's like, get in the back. It was That's what it's all about. I'm so proud that people still give a rat's ass about the Cathouse.
So are there big plans to celebrate the 35th anniversary?
I don't know. I mean, I've my whole career from podcasts to radio shows, because all these other things I've done by myself, I need somebody to help me. When I did Cathouse Live, I did it with Live Nation, and it was not the way I want. Even though we had 15,000 people, it was not what I wanted at all, and it was no. But I want somebody to be smart enough to say, let's do a Cathouse tour. You go to these little places. It's like a strip bar with these bands playing and tell stories and this like that. I'd love to do that. Of course, we don't know what the situation is. Maybe I do a live streaming thing. I want to do something. And, you know, I'm not motivated by money. I like money a lot. But that's not my motivation. And my motivation is not to put Riki Rachtman's name out there. My honest to God motivation is to do something fun and cool and show people, you know, ask Ricky Warwick. He knows about the Cathouse. He was there all the time. Right. So I'd like to do something for the 35th anniversary. I'd also like to start doing more Cathouse Hollywood podcasts, but you know.
So it seems like you do a lot more of the Triple R podcast than you do the Cathouse Hollywood. Is that right?
Yes, but you know, I haven't done anything the first year. The Triple R was based on my radio show, the Triple R, which if you don't know the story, you know, I ended up beating up a DJ and going to jail and blew my whole radio career, went broke. But the Triple R, there are, I've had, you know, everybody on the Triple R and even back in the radio show. I mean, crazy the things that happen. And I'm going to do new Triple Rs and I am going to do more Cathouse Hollywood podcasts. But like, you know, I have Zach Wilde. As much as I want to put Zach on the Cathouse Hollywood podcast, he didn't go there. So I put him on the Triple R. And at Popstar Tiffany. I mean, it's just like but I really want to get in the habit of doing both. I have no sponsors, don't get paid to do it. I do the Cathouse Hollywood podcast, write every word, do it all here and send it out. And I need to do more. You know, what a lot of people don't know is I have jobs. I host a nationally syndicated radio show called Racing Rocks that's heard all over America, where I talk about racing, play rock and roll. And I just hit the 19th anniversary of that. That's what my job is. And I have Cathouse shirts and I work for American Flat Track Racing. I do a lot of racing stuff, but the podcasts and stuff like that are done for fun. I mean, I know you guys, one of the reasons you guys are doing Talking Metal is because you love music and you like talking about it. You know, if somebody said, hey, do a eating Cheetos, I'm like, sign me up.
Right on. And
Ricky,
we do want to just recap the two podcasts. It's the Triple R podcast and the Cathouse Hollywood podcast, guys. They're both up on Apple Podcasts. Highly recommend you subscribe to those. I loved your Steve Stevens interview on episode 24. Great stuff, Ricky.
That was really fun because you would think, like, we even talked about it after the interview, like you'd think I'd know Steve Stevens, and I didn't. And I don't have anything written down. We just turned the mic on. The fun thing is, for the last couple of shows, Leah, my girlfriend who was on the TV show Ink Masters, has been on every episode, and people really like it when she's on it. And so she's now on the show with me as well. And, you know, sometimes we do stuff where we don't talk about, I mean, the crazy thing is we were going to get married and we broke up and we talked about that. And that was the number 2 most downloaded episode next to Duff McKagan. I'm like,
wow.
Wait a minute. Yeah. That threw me for a loop. Like, I was like, really, you want to hear my personal crap? I don't really want to talk about it, but people like that one. So.
Right on. Right on.
Ricky, before we switch gears again, I'm always on the tail end, and I always ask one more question about the previous subject. So here's something I was just curious on my own. When you were doing Headbangers Ball, were you still living in LA? And did you come here, do the show, and then fly back?
I lived in Los Angeles until I moved to North Carolina.
Wow.
So years ago, and also when I did Headbangers Ball for the last year, I also did Loveline. I was hosting Loveline, the radio show. So I would fly to, I'd leave on a Thursday, get there. They taped that show at midnight in LA. So I'd record Loveline live at 3:00 in the morning in New York, wake up 5 hours earlier, tape Headbangers Ball, go from the studio to the airport and fly back home, and then do Cathouse and Bordello.
Wow.
Right on.
That is an unbelievable schedule that you have to maintain, you know, week after week. One of the reasons I was asking is, were there any bars or clubs in New York that you liked? Because Mark and I were hanging out at the places, but I don't even know if Scrap Bar was open at that point. So
yeah,
I loved Scrap Bar. That would have been my go-to. We went to Scrap Bar. We went to a couple Hells Angels bars. Scrap Bar. When I was in a band, Battery Club, we played Limelight, and nice. But I think I would say that Scrap Bar, like if I'm in New York and I'm just going to go out at night, I would go to Scrap Bar because and then in later years, because I do these big charity motorcycle rides every year, I went to Duff Brooklyn, and I kind of liked. I had a really good time there. I hung out there. They played good music. Leah got to drink Iron Maiden beer, so it was kind of fun.
Right on. And
very good.
You did mention Loveline, so I do want to go there for a minute. It was with Dr. Drew, Adam Carolla. What happened with that? You had a good 3-year run, and there's rumors you and Adam didn't get along. Is that accurate?
I will tell you the story exactly how it happened. They used to have a guy named Poor Man that was the host of it. It was on for several years. I started becoming the host, and even though the show was on for like 8 years, when I became the host, they syndicated it nationally. It never got bigger. It had a 19 share in LA, which is huge. It was syndicated all over America. It was ridiculously huge. And then they came up with the idea of the Loveline TV show. And I thought, I don't think it's going to work as a TV show. So then they brought in Adam Carolla, who was a character on K-Rock, and he's a comedian. He's a real funny guy. So for a while, they brought on Adam Carolla, Dr. Drew, and me, and the three of us did the show for a while. And I was like, I don't know about this. So I said, guys, and I mean, I left a show where I was making the good 6 figures to start my own talk radio show called the Triple R. So I left K-Rock and I went to KLSX, which had Howard Stern in the morning and me in the afternoons. And I worked there until I beat up a DJ and lost everything. So yeah, I think he's great. I even spoke to Dr. Drew recently. So yeah, I mean, I think I was great on that show, and a lot of people like Adam on that show. It was a great show, and we had a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And let's also mention your work with Sharon Osbourne. You did a TV show with her. What did she? There was a rumor that she specifically wanted you on the show. Is that accurate?
I'd like to think so. I don't know if that's true or not. But I had done all the Rock of Love reunions, which were crazy. And then they decided to do Charm School. And it was Sharon and it was going to be me. And they said, we need to bring in another girl. And I said, well, my friend Gilby's got this wife, Daniela, who started this company called Frankie B. And it's huge. And Daniela. So it was me, Daniela, and Sharon doing the show. I think the world of Sharon Osbourne. Of course, I think the world of Daniela. And I think the show sucked. I had no fun on that show. And I said, I'm done. I'm not going to do VH1 reality shows anymore. I think they're dumb. Okay, they're not that they were dumb. They weren't my cup of tea, so to speak.
Right.
And then, hey, would you do the show Daisy of Love? And I was like, no. And then they said, look, come in. We want you to be Riki Rachtman. You're going to be like the voice of reason. You're going to be on the show more than almost anybody else. They had me talk to Daisy, and I did Daisy of Love. And doing that show, Daisy of Love, was one of the most fun jobs. I would put that up there in probably the top 3 of the most fun jobs I ever had. I love doing Daisy of Love. So, and that was my reality show days.
Very good. Very good. And Ricky's Ride is an annual thing, right? You do that every year?
Every year, biker. I ride really, really far. 11 years ago, my bucket list was one day when I retire, I'm going to ride a motorcycle from California to New York. I've now done that 14 times. I've ridden in 4 countries. I've ridden in every single state except Alaska. 2 years ago, I rode my motorcycle. I left North Carolina and I rode my motorcycle in the 48 states. Every year I pick a different charity. It doesn't get a lot of publicity because I don't have a manager, I don't have an agent, I don't have a publicist. Last year through COVID, I rode with Leah Vendetta on the back for the entire ride. And we rode 11,000 miles and we raised $22,000 for the Alzheimer's Association. The year before that, I raised $2,000 for Stop Soldier Suicide. Ricky's Ride has raised over $100,000 for charity. Every penny goes to charity. The rides cost me a fortune. If somebody says, I'll give you $100 for gas, I will put that money to the charities. I've never taken $1 for it. And people didn't really talk about it. And I didn't do it for fame. I did it because I love riding. I mean, I'll always ride. And it just started costing me so much money. And then it's like, hey, so-and-so is doing this charity ride for cancer. They raised $10,000 and they're in every magazine. I'm like, motherfucker, I'm the only biker out there riding. I've ridden more miles than anybody in rock and roll, with the exception of Neil Peart. And because I don't have a publicist, I don't want to pay for a publicist. I'd rather give the money to charity. Nobody ever talked about it. I have a great place called I can't believe I used the word fan, that people would meet me at every stop. And I had the greatest time. And it just became too tough. You know, Leah is a tattoo artist and she'd have to take off work for 2 months. So all of a sudden we're like spending a lot of money and not taking any of the money for our expenses. So it got to be very, very expensive. And I think it would have been a great TV show. Another one of those things. I sound like I'm bitter and whining all the time. But, you know, we rode everywhere in America. We went to any place people told us to go and one day we're at Wrigley Field backstage with the Foo Fighters. The next day we're in Hank Williams' childhood house. The next day we're caught in a hailstorm. I mean, it was so fun. I will always do them. But this year I'm not going to do a Ricky's Ride for charity or, you know, I'm just going to go ride. You know, probably I think a month on bike week if I decide it's the healthy situation.
Right. Cool.
Right. Well, Ricky, one of the refreshing things is that you don't do rock and roll and heavy metal for money. You do this because you love it. And I think it's a shame that like a great idea like the Cathouse tour kind of was messed up by money. And, you know, I know that's just how it is nowadays. Everybody's fighting with everybody else about, you know, their slot or this and that. But it's nice to talk to you. And I can tell that you're not doing this or anything you do in regards to heavy metal or rock and roll for money. You're doing it because it's something you like and you were there from the beginning. So I love that about you.
But don't get me wrong. I'm a whore and will do anything for money. So please. I have the tastes. I like to buy expensive things. I'm blessed that I have a couple good jobs. But when we were discussing with these other people about me doing the ball, this live show, I never ever mentioned money, which is interesting because these are today. But I have a job to get paid, and if I did, I'd love. I'm sure I do a lot more Cathouse Hollywood podcasts if I was getting paid, but the editing, which I do and I'm not very good at, and the writing, that's a hassle. But when I record it, I really enjoy doing it. Like me doing this with you guys right now, this is fun. Like I like doing this kind of stuff. So yeah,
Thanks, we love it too.
I love listening to albums. I love music. I miss going to shows. I love walking into a venue, seeing a band that I've never seen before and going, holy, and then going out and buying their album. I like getting turned on to new bands. I like, I am that guy that loves getting music and then turning my friends onto it. A lot of, with the exception of maybe Ace Von Johnson, a lot of people don't listen to the same music that I do because I listen to either really heavy stuff and I love old punk rock, and I can talk to Ace about, we like the same bands, but the ball isn't going to be that. The ball is going to be, the type of bands that I think, like I said earlier, it's not Ricky's show. Ricky's show would be, who knows?
Right on. Well, we're looking forward to that, Ricky, and we really appreciate you taking some time to hang with us. Two people asked me to say hello to you. My wife, Emily, who you sent a bunch of Cathouse T-shirts to probably 2-3 years ago, and she appreciated that. So she says hi. Eva Neu, friend of John and I, and she says hi. She worked on the ball with you back in the day. So two hellos to Ricky.
Eva is the people that I worked with on Headbangers Ball. I mean, I know my ego must have been freaking, because remember, I'm the guy living in an apartment with Tammy, and now I'm hosting Headbangers Ball that gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And Eva and Nancy had to deal with me going all over the world with all my drama with ex-girlfriends and all this stuff. And it was incredible. My God, what a soap opera.
I love it. You said that they saw you freak out. I mean, totally rock and roll. That's how it should be. You can't just walk in there and like with a suit and tie and be normal. You had to have drama. That made it cooler, I think.
But there were a couple years that I think I got, like, I've seen shows that I've done in interviews, and I was like, who is that guy? Like, I know now I'm a more positive person. I'm more of a, look, you like this, you voted for this, you did this. That's all right. Just don't be a dick, Right. And I try positive stuff without being preachy. But I know, like, I was a little bit of a prick sometimes, and I know that. And
good stuff. Well, we appreciate you spending some time with us, and let's get you back here before another 14 years pass.
And say hello to Ricky Warwick, who is just the greatest.
Awesome.
We will do for sure, Ricky. Thank you so much for taking the time out to hang with us, and we hope to have you back soon.
Michael fucking McDonald.
And we are going to be watching the ball, and we're going to stay tuned for the announcement, and we'll let our listeners and viewers know that that's where they got to tune in.
They better. Somebody better.
All right.
Awesome, Ricky. Thank you so much, bro.
Thank you for your time. Cool. Riki Rachtman. Wow. Very, very cool. So down to earth, John. I mean, you feel like you're talking to somebody that we've known.
Yeah, I know.
Which we've known him. I mean, because we experienced him on TV, on radio, but he doesn't really know us that well. But yet, he still is so personable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I love it. I love hearing Riki Rachtman, like God of Headbangers Ball, go, hey, I like being on Talking Metal. How cool is that? That's so cool.
Yeah. You know what? I want to see Ricky connect with Axl again. I think that would be
great.
Really,
yeah,
really cool.
I'm really hoping that things work out for Ricky in New Zealand, and that all comes together nicely. Now, hey, here's the thing, Mark. Before we bring Alex on, I am, I want to check to see if this is playing on my Facebook page. I know I have so many Facebook pages. Can we verify that? I don't know. I turned one of my computers off so I get a smoother connection. My whole connection's breaking up, and it's it's taking me out of the vibe. So I want to take a couple of seconds to see if this works. I'm even thinking of hanging up and logging in with a different browser. I hate this technical talk, but it's not working for me today.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm on your page looking.
See, I'd like to keep Mark on. Hey, Mark, is there any way that you can talk to everybody for about 2 minutes while I log off and log back on?
Yeah. I don't see it on your Facebook page, but
Here's the thing, guys. I have a feeling, and this is okay if this is going, I know we're going out live here. I have a feeling that maybe you guys are broadcasting this on the John Ostronomy artist page and not the one that I advertise that we normally broadcast on, which is facebook.com/John Ostronomy. Because unfortunately, that's where I told people to go. And I have a feeling it's not broadcasting on there. So they might think that, this is not, that there's a mistake. Either that or my, I'm just having computer problems. So it's one of those. But regardless of that, what I'd like to do is log off and then log back on. So Mark, why don't you keep
cool.
Why don't you keep? No, Mark, I want Mark to keep talking
now, John. I don't actually see it, but who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, so guys, I did want to remind everybody that we really, really need you guys to log on to us via the Apple Podcast app and hit subscribe, leave a review, leave a 5-star review. That is helpful. It gets our name going in the algorithms of Apple Podcasts. So please consider doing that for us. Also, our YouTube page is youtube.com/talking metal. And there is a Patreon page, which I have. If you want to support me, it is patreon.com. Just go search Mark Strigl or Talking Metal and you'll find it. And I do bonus podcasts on that Patreon page. So for as little as $2 a month, you can get a bonus podcast every week on Patreon. Now, other ways you can support, guys, are using the Amazon links. You can find those at talkingmetal.com in the show notes for the podcast episodes. They're also available on markstrigl.net, which is my new website, markstrigl.net. So on that site, there's the PayPal tab, there's the Patreon tab, and there are the Amazon links, which again work for anyone who is going to be shopping on Amazon within the US, the UK, or Canada. It's just one additional step. There's no markup or anything like that on the products. You just link through us to Amazon, and for some strange reason, Amazon gives us a very little kickback for every dollar you spend on Amazon when you click through our links. So that's that. I did want to mention the Dash vodka again, which maybe I'll. I didn't want to drink in front of Ricky because I know he's not a drinker, but it sounds like he's cool with it. It's weird. Sometimes sober people, which I totally respect, have great respect for, but sometimes there's certain of them that don't want to be around or hang around people who are drinking, and there's others who don't care. So I try to respect that when I'm with somebody who does not drink. And, I'm just going to start with a beer, I think. Usually I don't drink on Thursdays, but it's like Wednesday is the hump day. I go, I have some drinks that day and generally weekends. But, hey, it's a special time. We are doing a live stream here with Talking Metal. Cheers, guys. Yeah, I usually drink the IPAs. Tonight it's just a Miller. So good stuff. Yeah. So we got Alex Grossi coming up, and I tell you, this guy has a long history, which we're going to talk to him about. But man, he played on one of my favorite records from 2020, and I didn't even know this until he told me in an email. So we'll talk to him about that.